Hey there folks, welcome, it's Brandon Schaefer. Glad to be here with you. And a subscriber recently, just the other day, sent me an email and a photo of a painting which I'm going to show pop up in the video here periodically. And this artist he states that he's an amateur artist, which is fine, plenty of us are, including myself. And he wants to know how to mix tones to match a certain image, because he's painting from an image, so he wants to know how to mix certain tones and get a really intense orange or a really nice purple, a red color, etc. And he's having trouble with that, with the color mixing aspect. So I'm going to show that here. Just a little bit to help him out, help him get started and get on the right path. So I'm going to just put some paints out here, but I'm going to start off by just talking a little bit, and before I get into mixing. And he stated his palette that he uses, which has a lot of colors. So that first, right off the bat, that shows me that he's probably getting confused with so many different colors that he's using. He has umber, raw umber, sienna, burnt sienna, Naples yellow, yellow ochre, all these different tones that may not necessarily be needed, especially if you're an amateur. Definitely hold off on using so many different colors. I use just only the primaries, these 3 colors plus white. I use this for almost 3 years. I've been painting this month. I've been painting for 3 years this month. And for the most part of those 3 years, I used only these 4 colors. Sometimes I would change the blue because I would use ultramarine sometimes. Sometimes I'd use cobalt, phthalo blue. There's a lot of different blues to experiment with. And what that does, it gives you a lot of different green tones, different purples, experimenting with different yellows as well. Using more of a yellow ochre gives you a nice earthy kind of yellow, greens and such. So the 4 colors here is titanium white, cadmium red, medium. You stated that you're using cadmium red dark, and that's the only red you have. No problem with that. My red's just a little bit lighter. Cadmium yellow, medium, and ultramarine blue, because that was the blue you had as well. You had a bunch of other colors, but we're not going to focus on those, and I suggest that you don't either. Don't focus on those. Do this whole painting with just these. That's what I recommend. If you want to, you can add in burnt sienna or some kind of earthy tone. Burnt sienna, sienna, umber, raw umber. But don't add all of them. Just add one or the other of something and try that out. This is the glass palette, by the way. One of my favorite palettes to use. So by now I've shown the photo, so you guys have seen that. Now the hard part is going to be using that digital photo, which could have so much intensity and saturation in the colors that you can't achieve that in paints. It's just impossible. So the main thing you want to do is you're going to have to, when you're painting this painting and then you're looking back at your reference photo, the colors are not going to look exactly the same. It's just impossible. With paints, you cannot achieve the intensity that a computer screen has or that nature provides you. You're just not going to get that brightness. So what you're going to have to do is compare all the colors on your painting to each other. So if you want an intense orange, you're going to have to really neutralize all the other colors to make that orange look intense. Does that make sense? I'll explain a little bit more, but let's get into it before I bore everyone to death. So I'm going to start out with that orange color, that intense orange color that's on. I'm looking at my computer screen off to the side here. That it's not really an intense orange. It's an illusion. The shadow part of the orange is more of a red orange, and the light part of the orange is more yellow. So that's what you have here. It's not really an intense orange. But if you want an intense orange, white cools colors down. So you don't really want, excuse me, you don't really want to mix a ton of white into it, because then it starts looking pastel, like you've noted that you've tried. It starts looking like a pastel. So what you want to do, this is going to be the lighter tones of the orange. It's probably going to be mostly yellow. So get a little bit of yellow going. And let me zoom in here just for a little bit in the beginning. So you can really see what I'm doing for the beginning stage. So you have some yellow, you're going to mix some red in. Just a little bit of red, because red is really powerful. It'll overpower the yellow, and you'll have to mix a ton more yellow. So there's the orange. That is as intense as you're going to get. So what does that mean? So it's not going to look just like it does on the screen. You have to think in terms of painting. Now, so there's the orange and the yellows that you're going to get for the face of this little cat creature. And of course, as it gets lighter and lighter, you're going to add more yellow. I know it seems counterintuitive, but the yellow it's going to be more vibrant. It's going to be warmer. You can add a little touch of white in there so that it lightens it up. So see, now you're starting to get this range of oranges and yellows. And then as it gets into the shadow part of that image, you're going to add more red. Let's get some more yellow in there. It's going to be more of a red-orange. So there's probably your bright, intense orange that you want. And then, see, you add more yellow as it gets into the, like on the fingers and on the right hand of it, on the knuckles and stuff, it's this yellow color. It's not really orange. And then as it gets into the shadows, there's more red like that. Let me zoom out here. There's more reds like this. And also in the shadows now, to make that orange become more intense, for these shadow tones, you're going to add in, now you have an orange. What's the complement color of orange? You said you watched all the tutorials, you should know this. The complement of orange is going to be blue on the color wheel. So you jump into a little touch of blue, just a little bit. And you probably want to wipe it off first because you don't want to put too much. Now when you add this blue to the shadow color, it makes it more neutral, more of an earth tone color. Now these earth tone and neutral colors, less saturated colors, really make these tones pop out, pop off the canvas. That's what you're looking for. I know that's what you're looking for. So you're going to use these. See, all I did was do red and yellow, and that's fully saturated because they're straight out of the tube. You're just mixing them. There's no little bit of white where the highlights are around his nose. So those are the oranges you're going to use, and then for the shadow, add a little bit of blue in there because you want the shadows to be a little cooler. And when you add blue, they're going to be cooler than the warmer tones, the highlights. So I hope that makes sense to you. Hope that makes sense. I know it's a difficult concept to grasp, especially for an amateur and in the beginning. But these tones here, these shadow tones, these neutral tones, these earth colors, make these saturated tones pop. That's what you want. Now for his face, the white of his nose and kind of on his arms, what looks white isn't really white. So what you're going to want to do is more of this earth tone color. You're going to take some of that and add white to it. And add a bunch of white to it. So it's going to be an off-white tone. It's going to look almost white, but it's not going to be white. It's going to be that tan color. You can see there's some tint to it, but it's not white. So that's what you're going to use for all around his face and his eyebrows. His eyebrows are even a little darker, so you're going to add more of that color back into it. See what I'm saying? See, it's not that hard, but you have to understand these principles and how to color mix to figure all this out. Okay, so that's his face pretty much. There's the oranges, the reds, the shadow tones down here that I kind of messed up. The eyebrows and the snout kind of part of his face. So now let's go to the ears. Let's do those purple shadows. Or not shadows, excuse me. Just got to clean my brush off. That's important too. Remember to clean your brush off after you mix up some color. Keep the color clean. So we're going to do these purple lights, kind of the moonlight shining down on his ear. So what's that? First off, when I see that, okay, we know it's blue. We know there's probably some white in there because it's not this dark. And then, is there red in it? Is there yellow? Could be a little bit of both because red and yellow makes orange. And orange and blue cancel each other out. They make an earth tone color. And those aren't, it's not a super strong blue, so let's try this out. We get some ultramarine. And ultramarine is a more purpley blue, so this is going to work good for what you're going for. I'll zoom in here a little bit again. And we'll get some white. Just slowly mix those together because you don't want to overpower it at the beginning. You don't want to add too much paint. You also said you don't have a ton of money, so you don't want to waste a lot of paint. And I understand that. So now that's almost the color. Maybe we add a little bit of red. And what that red's going to do is create more of a purple tone, a grayish tone even. It may look a little weird on this camera, but I assure you that is the color you're going to want. So there's the color for the ears. Could be even a little bit more purple. You just play around with it and keep pushing it. Adding too much red though, it warms it up too much, and then you lose the effect. So see, that's kind of too gray. So if that happens, clean your brush off. If you find out that a mixture isn't working, clean your brush off and start new. Start again in a different spot. Don't mix any of that muddy color back into your new mixture. So that's probably what you want. Nice blue tone there. So you see that? Now, see, that was really simple. It was just white, ultramarine blue, touch of, just a touch of red. Probably not any yellow because yellow and blue it'll turn green, and there's not really any green in that. Let's do the pink of his ears and also the pink of that, the bright pink of the those leaves right there in the center of the image. So right off the bat, the pink of the ears, we know it's going to be red, but it's not completely red, it's pink. So it's going to be, how do you get pink? Okay, red and white. So it's just taking what you kind of learned in school, over the years. Okay, that makes pink. But it's not completely strong pink like that. It's a little more brown or neutral. Or a little more purple almost. Just a little darker. So to make something darker, you would normally use black, right? If you think about it in life. Oh, you add black to it. Well, we don't have black, so we use blue to make it a little bit darker. And there you go. And there's the tones you want for the ear. You just want variation as well. You come back, you add the highlights there, so there's some highlight, there's some other color. Alright, so that's nice. You can start to see a harmony going on here. It's more of a very complementary. Oranges, purples, and really warm tones dominate this scene. Also, I didn't mention this lighter tan. You're going to use that in the foreground as well for the dirt right in front of him, and also the skull on top of his head. That's definitely going to be that color. Yeah, and for the pink of the plants, you're just going to add a little more red because it's a little more vibrant. So you're going to add some red back into it, so it'll be more like that. Maybe even some more white, because it's just a brighter tone. You could try a little bit of yellow, but just playing around with it just to warm it up. Those greens, the little greens in the shadow there, might as well do everything, huh? Help you out a little bit since we got it here. So the green, how do you make green? That's blue. Let me move this up here. Green and yellow, or excuse me, blue and yellow makes green. So we got blue, we got yellow. Having trouble here, there we go. But those greens, they're more on the blue side, aren't they? That's what I would think. So you just add more blue than yellow. So, and then you get this nice blue-green that you're looking for. And if you need to make it more earthy, more dark, add a little touch of red. And that bit of red will turn it into I'll show you here, turn into a dark brown. So see, just playing around with these three colors and white, you can make a whole bunch of stuff. Add white to it, you get a gray, brown. And all that from a green. Just adding more red into the green gives you this gray color. So you can play around with this. Add yellow and blue back again. You can bring the green back in. And then you can have more of a grayish green. So check that out. Alright, I hope this helped you out. And I hope it... hope it helped everyone out seeing the color mixing. And seeing that this is how you do every painting. You just put the color in the right spot, mix it up, and that's all there is to it. It's just judging, and it's never going to look as intense as it does on the screen. It's just not going to happen. So what you're going to have to do is a lot in the shadow areas. You might have to darken those down a little more than it looks on the screen to really make these intense colors, really make these colors become more intense in the scene. I hope that makes sense. Because intense colors are not just adding white to them. You're not lighting them up. They're not intense because they're light. They're intense because they're saturated and they're surrounded by these neutral tones. You know what I mean? So, hope this was helpful. If you have any other further questions, just let me know. Post them down below. Thank you guys for watching. And stay tuned for the next video. Take care of yourself. Peace.